Hi, once again welcome back to Obstetrics and Gynecology videos. Today we are going to see about an abnormality of pregnancy, that is preeclampsia. Preeclampsia is a multi-system disorder of unknown etiology characterized by the development of hypertension to the extent of 140 by 90 mm of mercury or more with proteinuria after 20th week in a previously normotensive and non-proteinuric woman. That is, during the pregnancy, in a woman who is not having hypertension and who is not having proteinuria, without hypertension, without proteinuria, a lady become pregnant, and that lady is developing hypertension all of a sudden after 20th week of pregnancy, and if that hypertension is coming above 140 by 90 mm of mercury or more, that we are calling as preeclampsia. That is, we should remember the lady will be having hypertension more than 140 by 90 mm of mercury, and she will be having proteinuria, and along with that she will be having edema also. That is not mentioned in the definition. And pregnancy induced hypertension is defined as hypertension that develops as a direct result of gravid state, and this includes gestational hypertension, preeclampsia and eclampsia. So diagnostic criteria of preeclampsia include three features we have to see, that is whether the lady is having hypertension, whether she is having proteinuria, and whether she is having edema. And if these three features are there, means we can tell that the lady is having preeclampsia. And now we can see the risk factors for developing preeclampsia. Nulliparity, that is a woman who is not having a previous history of pregnancy, and extreme maternal age, that is advanced maternal age above 35 years, multi-fetal gestation, that is multiple pregnancy, and in the lady, that is the same lady, if she got the previous history of preeclampsia in her previous pregnancy, there is a chance for getting hypertension during the present pregnancy also. And in the ladies, those who are having the family history of preeclampsia, and those who are having chronic hypertension or renal diseases, those who are having chronic infections, and maternal low birth weight, obesity of the mother, insulin resistance of the mother, pre-gestational diabetes mellitus, that is already if she is having diabetes mellitus, if she got the history of smoking, and presence of certain maternal genes, chronic inflammatory conditions like systemic lupus erythematosus, that is SLE, and molar pregnancy highlighted for mole that we have seen already. So these are the risk factors that may contribute to the development of the preeclampsia. Now we can see the pathophysiology. In the normal pregnancy, angiotensin 2, that is a hormone which is controlling the blood pressure, is getting destroyed by the angiotensinase enzyme which is liberated from the placenta, and the vascular system become refraction to the pressure agent like angiotensin 2 by increased synthesis of prostaglandin and nitric oxide, and which act as a vasodilator. That is, during the pregnancy, actually vasodilatation should be there, especially the blood vessels which are supplying to the placenta and uterus should be dilated, and blood volume also will increase. And when this blood volume is increasing, due to the dilatation of the blood vessels, actually the lady will not get the hypertension, and this dilatation is helped out by the increased production of nitric oxide, and there will be angiotensinase exam, and it will revert the function of angiotensin. Actually it is causing the vasoconstriction, so that effect also will get reverted and contraction will not occur, or vasodilatation will occur, and the BP will be maintained even if the blood pressure is increasing also. But here in the case of ladies, those who are having or those who are getting preeclampsia or hypertension during pregnancy, what will happen means any of this mechanism will fail. That is, sometimes a problem will develop with the development of or production of angiotensin exam, or sometimes it will come with the nitric oxide also. Now we can see the clinical types of preeclampsia. It can be mild or severe. If the diastolic blood pressure is above 90 mm of mercury, But if it is less than 110 millimeter and the systolic blood pressure is above 30 millimeter of mercury, or if it is above the level of the previous pregnancy reading, and if the mean arterial blood pressure exceeds 105 millimeter of mercury, we are calling it as mild preeclampsia. And if the systolic blood pressure is more than 160 millimeter of mercury, or diastolic pressure is more than 110 millimeter of mercury, and if the mother is having proteinuria, that is excretion of protein through the urine, and if the proteinuria is more than 5 grams in 24 hours, and if she is having oliguria, and if the urine amount is less than 400 ml in 24 hours, and if the platelet count is coming less than 1 lakh millimeter cube, and if she is getting HELLP syndrome, that is hemolysis, elevated liver enzyme, and low platelet count syndrome, if it is there, and if she is getting cerebral or visual disturbances, and if the mother is having IUGR, if these features are there along with the blood pressure, we are calling it as severe preeclampsia. And the clinical features of preeclampsia, it includes warning signs and normal signs. In the normal signs, abnormal weight gain will be there, raised blood pressure will be there, edema will be there, and pulmonary edema also will be there. And the warning signs include severe headache and blurred vision, nausea or vomiting, dizziness or double vision, excessive swelling of the hands or feet, decreased frequency of urination, and rapid pulse. And the mild symptoms include slight swelling over the ankles. Swelling may extend to the face, abdominal wall, vulva, or even to the whole body. And the alarming symptoms include headache, diminished urinary output, disturbed sleep, epigastric pain, eye symptoms, and blurring of vision. So these are the main clinical features of preeclampsia. And the investigations, you can perform the urine examination. So you have to do the urine examination and you have to see the proteinuria, and you can assess the amount of urine, and you should take the blood values. You can perform the ophthalmoscopic examination, and you can go for the antenatal fetal monitoring also. In the antenatal fetal monitoring, you should see the features of intrauterine growth retardation mainly. And the lab investigations, baseline data you should take, and you should see the blood grouping, and you should see the testing for hepatitis B and C, and the urine analysis, you should go for the clean cat specimen, and you should see whether proteinuria 2+ or higher is significant and warrants further evaluation to rule out the preeclampsia. A 24-hour urine collection with more than 300 milligram of protein suggests the preeclampsia. And if the urea is more than 40 millimole per liter, or more than 11 milligram per deciliter, and if the creatinine level in the urine is more than 1 milligram per deciliter, and serum uric acid level is more than 6.3 milligram per deciliter, it suggests the preeclampsia. And in the blood, you should see the bilirubin level, and if it is more than 25 international units per ml, there's a chance for preeclampsia. And you should see the clotting factors also. Already I have told you that platelet count will come down, so you should see the platelet count, you should see the prothrombin time, and you should see the fibrin degradation products also. So these are the investigations you are supposed to perform in order to diagnose the preeclampsia. Other screening tests, you can perform the ultrasonography, and you can assess the placental blood flow, and you can assess the blood flow through the uterine artery, and you should see the diastolic notch at 24 weeks of gestation, and absence of end diastolic frequency, if it is there, you are supposed to note it, and you have to assess the average mean arterial pressure in the second trimester, and if it is more than 90 millimeter of mercury, it suggests the preeclampsia, and you can perform the fetal DNA analysis also. Now we can see the complications of preeclampsia. The immediate complications, that is maternal complications that can occur during the pregnancy, includes eclampsia, that is sometimes the this lady may get the convulsions also, that is known as eclampsia. If preeclampsia, if it is associated with the convulsions, we are calling it as eclampsia. And there is a chance for accidental hemorrhage, that is there is a chance for separation of the placenta, and hemorrhage may occur due to that. Oliguria and anuria, preterm labor, HELLP syndrome, already I have told you, hemolysis, elevated liver enzyme, and low platelet syndrome, and dimness of vision or even blindness, cerebral hemorrhage, and acute respiratory distress syndrome. These are the main complications that you can see in the pregnancy. And during the time of labor, also the lady may get the preeclampsia, and there is a chance for postpartum hemorrhage immediately after the labor. And during the puerperium, also sometimes the lady may get the eclampsia. Chance for shock is there, and chance for sepsis is also there. And the fetal complications include intrauterine death, asphyxia, prematurity, and intrauterine growth retardation. The remote complications of the preeclampsia, there is a chance for residual hypertension, that is the high hypertension may continue even after the pregnancy also. There is a chance for recurrence in the subsequent pregnancy, and chronic renal diseases, chance for placental abruption in the subsequent pregnancies also there is a chance. And now we can see the prophylactic measures. What are the preventive aspects you can take for preeclampsia? You should do the regular antenatal checkup, and you should assess the antithrombotic agents, heparin or low molecular weight. Calcium supplementation 2 grams per day should be given to the woman. Antioxidants, vitamin E, C, and nutritional supplementation with magnesium, zinc, fish oil, and low salt diet should be given to the mother. And you can go for the balanced diet. By this way, you can try to prevent the preeclampsia, but completely we cannot prevent it because the main reason it is unknown etiology. Now we can see the management of preeclampsia. First, you should take measures to stabilize the hypertension and to prevent the severe preeclampsia. And you should take the measures to prevent the complications, to prevent eclampsia, and delivery of a healthy baby at the optimal time, and restoration of the health of the mother in the puerperium. So these are the main objectives of the management. The main thing, we can give rest for the lady, and you should concentrate on the diet of the mother. Already I have told you that you should provide diet which is rich in calcium, magnesium, zinc, iron, and at the same time you should go for the low salt diet also. The rest will help her to reduce the edema, especially in the lower extremities. And you can give diuretics, especially if the lady is having oliguria, and mainly we are focusing on the antihypertensive drugs. Now we can see what are the antihypertensive drugs that we are giving during the pregnancy. The following drugs can be used when the blood pressure is more than 160/110 millimeter of mercury with a mean arterial pressure more than 125 millimeter of mercury. First one is labetalol, and the dose schedule is 10 to 20 milligram IV every 10 minutes, and the maximum dose is you can give up to 300 milligram IV, and for the maintenance we can give 40 milligram per hour. The next drug is hydralazine. The dose is 5 milligram IV every 30 minutes, and the maximum dose is 30 milligram IV, and the maintenance dose you can give 10 milligram per hour. And the third drug is nifedipine. The dose is 10 to 20 milligram orally and can be repeated in 30 minutes, and the maximum dose is 240 milligram in 24 hours. And for the maintenance, you can give the same dose at 4 to 6 hour interval. And next, fourth drug is nitroglycerin and sodium nitroprusside. See, this short-term therapy only when the other drugs have failed. In that case only we are using the nitroglycerin and sodium nitroprusside. And the dose of nitroglycerin is 5 microgram per minute IV, and the sodium nitroprusside is 0.25 to 5 microgram per kilogram per minute, and we are giving it through the IV. Next is the management of preeclampsia during the labor. During the labor process, you should monitor the progress of labor. You should maintain the pantograph, and you have to perform the abdominal and vaginal examination at regular intervals. And in the first stage of labor, we are supposed to give bed rest for the mother, and you should cut short the second stage of labor either by using medicines or by using the prophylactic forceps. And usually as a routine, we used to give the methergine after the delivery of the shoulder, but This methergine is contraindicated in the case of preeclampsia because methergine will produce a vasoconstriction, and this will again increase the blood pressure. So we are not giving methergine for the lady who is having preeclampsia. Next, already I have told you that the main complication of preeclampsia is HELLP syndrome. This is an acronym for the hemolysis, elevated liver enzyme, and low platelet count. That is, the platelet count will be less than 1 lakh millimeter cube. And this rare complication of preeclampsia, HELLP syndrome are developed even without maternal hypertension also. The symptoms are nausea, vomiting, epigastric pain, right upper quadrant pain, along with the biochemical and hematological changes. That is, in the pregnancy, if the lady is having hypertension and if she is getting nausea, vomiting and epigastric pain, you should suspect the HELLP syndrome. And there may be subscapular hematoma formation also. And the management, you should give anti-seizure prophylaxis. That is, you can give magnesium sulfate, you can start that because you should suspect the convulsions, and anticorticosteroids can be administered to improve the perineal and maternal outcome. And cesarean section are common mode of delivery. You can give epidural anesthesia if the platelet count is less than 1 lakh millimeter cube, and platelet transfusion should be given if the count is less than 50,000 millimeter cube, and there is a chance for recurrence of HELLP syndrome in 3 to 19% of the cases. And the expectant management should be carried out when the pregnancy is less than 34 weeks. You have to give bed rest, you have to give plasma volume expansion, you have to give antithrombotic agents, and you can give anti-immunosuppressants, that is steroids, and other, if it is needed, you can give fresh frozen plasma also if platelet count is very less. And the complications of this HELLP syndrome include there's a chance for abruptio placenta, that is separation of the placenta, cerebral edema, pulmonary edema, laryngeal edema, acute respiratory distress syndrome, sepsis, acute renal failure, severe ascites, retinal detachment, subscapular hematoma, and even death. These are the complications of the HELLP syndrome. So in this video, mainly we have seen the preeclampsia, and we have seen one of the complications of preeclampsia, that is HELLP syndrome. And in the coming video, we will be discussing about the main complication of preeclampsia, that is eclampsia. Thank you for watching this video. See you soon with a new video. Bye.